Now, what is going on with the mind of someone who suffers from alcohol use disorder? Why does what they do and their actions seem so irrational? They don't seem like they're making decisions that are good for them. They're harmful, in fact. They continue to make bad decisions as far as consumption of alcohol, no matter what the circumstances. I mean, they put people in harm's way. They may drive intoxicated. They continue to drink even though they may have lost their job, or they have health issues. Maybe they have diabetes. I've known people that continue to drink, they have diabetes, and they had to have a leg removed, for example. The disability, and it affects the frontal lobe of your brain, is extremely powerful, and certainly in the later stages, it's a progressive disease and only gets worse because you become imbalanced as a person. You just simply do. I want to make really a video about a way to understand a non-drinker, someone who doesn't have this disorder, and really get into the mind, into the understanding of why the alcoholic is the way they are, even though they harm their children, their spouses, their family, their friends, and society. Why are they the way they are? Or is there something wrong with them? Yes, but not in the way that you think. Is it a moral issue? Is it a character issue? No, not really, because giving the right opportunity, anybody could get caught in this web of alcohol use disorder. So I'm going to go over in the next segment what is going on with the mind of an alcoholic. Let's continue. And then, of course, I have a complete coaching program. A link is in the link tree right on this page. We're going to do a deep dive into what's going on with you and your family. The call is free. The course is not. I'm really looking for people who are dedicated to changing their life, setting themselves in a different direction, because we spend a lot of time really reinventing oneself and finding purpose in one's life. Click on the link, set up a call. Now, I really think this is one of the best metaphors. I've used pizza in the past, but I think a smartphone is the best way to really is the most identifiable, because everybody uses the iPhone. Everybody uses a smartphone. And with this, so much of our life is attached in these phones. Okay, our social media, how we connect with other people, how we find somebody's address, how we order our food, our bank account. So much of our life is involved in this little device. It's just amazing how much the world has changed in the last 15 years or so. Here's the thing. In an alcoholic mind, and I hope this is relatable, but it's a perfect metaphor. When you are suffering from alcohol use disorder, take this in mind. This is the alcohol. So as attached that you are to this phone, can you imagine if some reason, this phone was just taken out of your life and you could no longer use your phone? You couldn't get another phone either. You couldn't use phones anymore. Can you imagine the cataclysmic emotions that would be going through your life? Suddenly, you'd be pushed back to, I don't know, the year 2000. Okay, you'd have to go back 20, 25 years into your life before these phones. And I'm not talking about flip phones. There's no phone. Okay, you're going back to rotary dial. If you know, I'm dating myself, but I mean, if you're going back to, a phone on the desk type of thing. And you would not have this handheld computer, which is essentially what it is. So the emotions of that, you wouldn't have your contacts, you would no longer have your social media, and on and on. How would that make you feel? Would you be able to go any amount of time without that? What would that do to your brain? You would be craving this thing, okay? Because so many people have an unnatural relationship with these phones. And this has nothing to do with alcoholism, but it does have everything to do with addiction. People are addicted to these phones, although they don't have the same chemical problems and physical problems that alcohol does. But can you imagine if this was taken away from you? Let's study this a little further. So here's the thing. The phone's taken away. What are you going to do now? What is going to be running through your head? You're going to do everything you can to try and find a phone again, to get that phone back. It doesn't make any difference what's in the way. You're going to find a phone. If you have to go buy another one, if you have to borrow somebody else's phone, if you have to, beg, borrow, and steal. If you have to steal money, you're going to find a phone again if you're not ready to really commit to the process of recovery. You're going to do anything to get this phone back because it is your addiction. Now, can you imagine it's taken away, and the fact that if you do get a phone back, everybody in your life is going to be angry with you, okay, because you got that phone back. They're gonna, your children, your spouse, your parents, your friends, everybody in your circle are going to be disappointed with you if you get your phone back. You're going to be ostracized. You're going to be the talk of the family. Everyone is going to be emotionally disappointed in you, and they might create boundaries where they will not have a relationship with you anymore if you decide to use your phone again. You can't use this ever again. I don't mean like for a couple of weeks. You can never use this again in your life. How would that make you feel? And then you have to break it down. Well, could I go one day without the phone? One day. How hard would that be? You probably could go a day. You would survive a day. Maybe you're on vacation and doing something. So maybe you would have to be absorbed into other things. So take your mind off the phone. That's kind of what you need to do in recovery, by the way, is you need to do and find other purpose in your life other than this phone. This is exactly what an alcoholic, someone who's suffering from alcohol use disorder, goes through emotionally. They want the one thing that has become the solution to their emotional trauma, and yet they can't have it because it's harming them physically, emotionally. It's harmed their relationships, it's harmed their health, it's harmed their productivity as a person. But it's become their support blanket, and that has overridden all the rationalization in their life. And yet, fully aware that how bad this is destroying their life, they still have to have it. They still want this because it gives them so much pleasure as far as emotional support. And yet, the thing that they love the most, they know they have to get rid of. Yeah, but really think about it for a minute. Just close your eyes and just imagine for a minute if you couldn't use your phone. And just imagine for the rest of your life, your phone, you could never have a phone again. And it's like, well, how would I get a hold of people? I have so many, like high school friends. Acquaintances that through my life that I only know through maybe social media like Facebook or some other media, Instagram, LinkedIn. How am I going to find a job? How am I going to market? How am I going to, sell things that I do online? You can no longer purchase on Amazon or eBay. Certainly not from your iPhone. You can still use a laptop to some extent, but you'd no longer have the portability of this. Just imagine the emotions you would go through and the withdrawals you would go through if this was taken out of your life. And the reason why I keep going over and over this is because that's exactly the emotions that someone who suffers from alcohol use disorder goes through every single day. Although they may be able to get a week or two without it, it becomes a struggle and an ongoing struggle. So there's medications to maybe soften that pain, like naltrexone and antabuse. And then there's counseling where you have to go every day or as often as you can. Maybe there's an inpatient facility that you have to go to just to get over your phone. Can you imagine that? We're probably not far away from that anyways, but just the psychological and unbalanced effect that something like a phone can do in your life if you no longer have access to it, and it's putting you in harm's way and everybody in your circle in harm's way. Just imagine how that would make you feel. And then there's another thing to consider. When you realize that, and it's not a good way to approach it, especially somebody suffering from alcohol use disorder, but you could never use this phone again in your life. And if you do, you could completely relapse to go back to a point where you once were, even if you didn't use this for a year or 2 or 5 years. That's the situation. And you say, well, maybe I could just go back on it a little bit. Maybe I could get on it and, maybe I could go to TikTok just for a few minutes. Just go to TikTok and just maybe reconnect with some people that I used to talk to, or Facebook. Here's the thing, very similar to what an alcoholic goes through. So you go to TikTok. Oh, let me just check Facebook real quick. Oh, let me go to eBay real quick. Oh, look, I need to check my bank account. Oh, and I got a couple texts. Oh, I got to make a phone call real quick. And before you know it, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hours of your life is gone away because you've completely absorbed yourself back into the phone. So you left off exactly. So you go back to exactly where you left off just by checking it out. Oh, I just want to check out TikTok, or I just want to check out YouTube just for a few minutes. And you go, oh, well, while I'm at it, why don't I check my other social media? Oh, then why don't I go do this and do this and do that? And before hours and hours go by, you've watched, 3 hours of YouTube videos. The function of this episode, the function of this exercise is to realize that you can never go back to it again. Similar to cancer, and I always use that example. People may not like it, but I mean, if you had stage 4 cancer and somehow survived, or stage 3, I mean, you had lung cancer, because you were a smoker for 30 years and somehow you survived, would you and you were able to be cancer free? It was in remission and it's cancer free. Or leukemia or something, some miracle, you're able to get blood disease or something, and you're able to get it out of your life. Would you invite that back into your life in any capacity, this life-threatening disease back into your life? Oh, would it be okay if I just had a little bit of cancer? Is that okay? I can handle a little bit of cancer. Hey, I beat it once. Well, can I have a little bit back? This is why the person who suffers from alcohol use disorder can never, ever, ever, never, ever drink again in their life. In fact, their entire life should revolve around avoidance of the alcohol, similar to somebody who just wants to try this out for 5 minutes. It's not going to go 5 minutes. One drink can turn into 15 real quick. Oh, I can handle it. I can handle a couple drinks. And before you know it, your friends have to carry you out the building. This is how the disease works. This is how the mind works. It's actually affected the mind chemically. It's altered the state of your brain. The ethanol in the alcohol, has affected the dopamine in your brain. It does damage to your brain as well. I mean, it's things like, I've made videos on Wernicke-Korsakoff. I mean, there's wet brain, actually dementia. I mean, there's so many things that it destroys with your physicality. To begin with. Not worth it. And really, like, any disorder, there's many spectrums of the disorder. And if you followed me at all, there's 4 really major periods of time. There's 4 major levels of alcohol use disorder. It's like anything. When you started using your phone for the first time, it was just really interesting. It was kind of an exploratory. You spent a lot of time on different apps checking out different things. That's really stage 1 of alcohol use disorder. The second stage is when you started using it more often. Maybe you used it 3 or 4 times a week, and then it worked into 7 days a week. That's really a stage 2 problem. The consistency. So now you're a stage 2. That would be a stage 2. Constantly using this. Not overusing it, but maybe using it an hour or 2 a day, but every day. And what happens is you progress into stage 3 when that hour or 2 a day turns into 5, 6, 10 hours a day on your phone. That's a stage 3 when you've really become completely dependent and your life is going to be altered drastically if this was removed from your life. That's a stage 3 AUD, similar to a phone. Stage 4 is the only thing that matters in your life is the phone. It's more important and it takes precedence over any relationship in your life, including your own health. So if you had a choice between eating 3 meals of food a day and being able to spend 12 hours a day on your phone, you're going to actually choose the phone. You're not going to eat properly, and unfortunately it's going to create a horrible imbalance in your life. It's more important than your children, it's more important than your spouse, it's more important than your family and your friends, over and over again. Stage 4 is a horrible place to be, and the chances that that's going to be removed from your life is pretty minimal because you're so dependent on it. It's going to put you in a place, unless you're actually locked behind bars and they throw away the key type of thing, you're not going to recover stage 4. You're not going to be able to get over having this removed from your life, because you're going to have physical and mental and emotional problems with the removal of this object from your life. That's what stage 4 AUD is. And then there's other theories and other ways that people really try to acquire sustainable sobriety. There's one called the Sinclair method, which is a tapering off method, and they use naltrexone, which is a blocker for the actual intake of alcohol, so you don't desire alcohol as much. I believe it maybe in the earlier stages, like maybe stage 2, where you're creating some kind of consistency, but you're not yet past the point of being illogical, like a late stage 3, stage 4, where you're completely obsessed with the object or with the chemical itself. The Sinclair method is a tapering off method. So maybe using the phone, for example, instead of using this for 12 hours, maybe you go to 10 hours a day, then you go to 8 hours a day, then you go to 6. You got the message: 4, 2, and then hopefully 0 hours. But in theory, that all sounds great. In reality, a late stage alcoholic could never go. They might be able to fake it a little bit and maybe go a little bit less, in my experience, and coming from the family perspective and understanding how this disease affects your brain. I really think someone really needs to have it removed in the later stages and really drastically do a detox, professional detox, and then be really in an inpatient facility for a period of time. And then when they get out, they need they really need to absorb themselves in their own daily practices with, being around other people, in group therapy and one-on-one counseling in their real life. And it really needs to become the most important thing in their life. They also have to find purpose. They have to find creative activities in their life. They have to find physical activities in their life, and they have to have fulfilling things in their life, fulfilling relationships, and very important to have a fulfilling job, having a job, just activities during your day. So when you come home from work, instead of reaching for a bottle of wine or a 6-pack of beer, you have another activity. Maybe it's time to learn a new language, or learn how to play a guitar, or something that's creative. You like to cook, you like to do woodwork, you like to gardening, some kind of creative activity that is much more fulfilling. These are things that you have to do in reinvention. Maybe move from where you lived. These are things that have to take place, whatever it takes to get away from the obsession of the thing that has created a horrible imbalance in your life. And again, I hope the phone analogy has been relatable, because it's probably one of the most relatable object in first, second world countries. Most people have some kind of device like this, some kind of computer device, and they base a lot of your life on it. Really everything you do on social media, or just making this video, I wouldn't be able to make this. I wouldn't be able to have the connections or the influence that you have when you're on social media. And it's a good thing, because we're able to communicate with each other. But if it becomes off balance and you're spending too much time with anything, again, it's certainly the perfect metaphor for if it suddenly has to be eradicated from your life in order to save your life. I hope that message has come through. Again, I really want to go over, Amanda's memoir. It's called Amanda, A Cautionary Tale of Alcoholism. Again, you can find it in the link tree. You can go on my website. It's also available. There's an international link. You can purchase this anywhere in the world. It's also available on Amazon. Okay, now for the ebooks, you can purchase it on Amazon, the Apple website, and the Barnes & Noble website for the ebook. Amanda, A Cautionary Tale of Alcoholism. It was a story of her 25-year decline with alcohol use disorder. We were married for 25 years, and unfortunately, she passed away a little over 5 years ago. Hope this video has helped. Please like, share, and comment, and I'd love to hear your opinions. That's how we grow. Thanks so much for listening this far.